Nintendo is erasing its history. The War Against ROMs by Modern Vintage Gamer.
In the summer of 2018, the best-selling console in June of that year wasn't the Nintendo Switch or the Sony PlayStation 4, it was the NES Classic, a miniature version of the NES that cost $60 and came with 30 classic NES titles.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it sold
I
well.
missed this.
So well that Nintendo underestimated the demand. The NES Classic was frequently sold out, and resellers took advantage of the FOMO from those who weren't able to get one. The NES Classic underneath the covers is nothing more than a low-powered ARM device that runs an in-house Nintendo-developed emulator and ROMs. Nintendo would...
See, Nintendo, they also use emulation. Look at the Mario, the pack for the Switch, which was 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. Was it not 3 emulators in a UI?
Follow this up with the Super NES Classic, which was just as successful, and just like any other mini console at the time, it would be quickly hacked to run just about any emulator and ROM that you wanted.
Nice!
In July 18 of the same year as the NES Classic, Nintendo would file a lawsuit against the operator of a popular console ROM site known as LoveROMS.com. According to Nintendo, the sites are among the most notorious online hubs for pirated games, and just 3 days later, LoveROMS was shut down. ME Paradise, out of fear of being targeted by Nintendo, also ceased providing ROMs on their website. In July of 2019, Nintendo went scorched earth on another popular ROM sharing site known as ROM Universe, stating the company alleges ROM Universe is built largely on brazen and mass-scale infringement. It was shut down shortly after. And fast forward to today, Vim's Lair is the latest in a string of high-profile ROM sites that have been a target of Nintendo and their quest to eradicate illegal ROMs and piracy. In the case of Vim's Lair, Nintendo, along with Sega, Lego, and a group of companies who formed the ESA, was responsible. Now, I do want to be very clear that Nintendo does have every right to protect what's theirs, and ROM sites do indeed host illegal ROMs. But it's in my opinion that Nintendo is causing irreparable damage to a community that's almost single-handedly kept game preservation efforts alive for decades. And we're going to talk about why I'm genuinely concerned about the future of video game preservation after a quick word from today's sponsor.
Before we get into the sponsor, because I want to critique that separately, one, what a banger intro. So the issue that I'm running into is that there is a demand. It comes down to supply and demand, right? Just business, right? Just logistics. If you have a number of people that want to play, I don't know, Star Fox 2, Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green, Pokemon Crystal, right? Pokemon Stadium 2, right? What avenues do we have for that? It's Pokemon Stadium 2. Oh, Kip, I hear you say. Kip, we have the Nintendo subscription thing, right? The Big Boy Edition, right? Yes, you would be right, but you are also lacking features that were on the original, are you not? You're lacking features to connect to GSC, right? Via the proprietary hardware. What was it? The GBA, sorry, not GBA, Game Boy Link cable and the transfer pack, right? You're lacking features from the games that were there on launch, right? You're being sold, not even sold, you're being leased via subscription, a inferior product to the past. And even then, what about the other two, right? How do you play Star Fox 2? How do you play Pokemon Fire Red or Pokemon Crystal? How do you play things like that? Link to the Past, right? Well, it's not like they sell them anymore, right? So you have this demand, but you're limiting and choking the supply. What is that going to force people to do? It's going to force them in the direction to get the game what ways that they can and give you the middle finger, right? You have to make it as easy as possible for your end user. And I'm not saying not to make money. I'm not saying you have to give it out for free. What I am saying is that there's a lot of people that are upset because there's people like me for years who have wanted a Pokemon Coliseum and Pokemon XD remake, remaster, more like a remaster, or just a port. Give us the Mario treatment. And even here, we know Nintendo is using emulation in their official products, right? Where's my Coliseum? Where's my XD? Why should somebody have to pay upwards of $200 for XD Gale of Darkness, right? And even then, because it's aging hardware, aging tech, I mean, you can find a Wii that doesn't work. You can run into me, has like 3 GameCubes in a row that doesn't work because old hardware. And even then, once you get the game, are they selling a Nintendo GameCube Classic? No. Selling an N64 Classic? No. So, because you are choosing, as a company, as an entity, to make it as hard as possible for people and try to put them into these weird subscription services and that you can pull at any time, really, it's forcing them into one avenue of thinking. I want to play this game. It's hard to get it, or I can't get it, or it's impossible for me to get it, even if you have the money to just buy it outright, right? Like, $200 is a lot to invest on a single game. Let's think about that. A single game. So you wonder why people resort to ROMs. You wonder why people resort to piracy. I can't legally say to go ahead and do it, even if you own the game and you're just getting the ROM. I can't legally say it. What I'm trying to say is I understand the motivations, and I understand why people are pushed into it.
Today's episode is brought to you by Delete Me. As someone who works in the video game industry and as a known public figure, maintaining my privacy is extremely important. And sometimes I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle. Last year, I got an email from what appeared to be a YouTube representative. Now, being tech savvy, I knew that this was a scam. But what I didn't really understand at the time was how these scammers were able to get my information so easily.
Brokers.
Well, it's all thanks to data brokers. And these are
How is this legal? How are these people actually like allowed? I can't imagine. Like, see, my fear is if I were to be a data broker, I would have like funny tube-shaped packages mailed to my door, right? Not saying to do that, not advocating for that. What I'm saying is that if I was a data broker, I would be scared to even engage in that. That is wild that this is not illegal.
Large corporations that collect huge amounts of your personal identifiable information and package it all together. And these data brokers will also sell your data to other data brokers. And there are literally hundreds, maybe thousands of these sites on the internet. Now, you have the right to stay private and protect your personal data. And that's where Delete Me comes in. It's an online subscription service that will scrub the internet for you and remove your personal data from hundreds of these data broker websites. Now, I've been using the service for the past few weeks, and so far I'm really happy with the results. Now, once you've signed up for the service, Delete Me experts will find your personal information online and remove it from over 750 data brokers. The first
Can you like actually file legal action against these people though? Like these entities and these people, can you file legal action against them for having your information without your consent, regardless of how they got it? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm on Facebook, Meta as they call it, right? I'm already aware my information's out there. It's been sold time and time again. I just accept that. And honestly, at this point, you know, the amount of spam I've gotten, having fraud happen on me in the past, past 6 months. Yeah, I'm looking at something like Delete Me and going, man, this sounds really good right about now.
Report you'll receive after 7 days of using the service. And this is mine. Check this out. This isn't altered in any way. These are all the data broker sites that my information was found on. Now, as you can see going down this list, some of them have removal requests pending, while others have already been removed. And Delete Me doesn't stop there either. They will regularly remove your personal information at a scheduled basis and keep you informed. Not only this, you can also make custom removal requests as well. Now, I'm a Delete Me customer, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to try it out for themselves. There are even family plans available for those who want to protect the privacy of their entire family. So what are you waiting for? Get 20% off Delete Me US customer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/MVG and use promo code MVG at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/MVG, code MVG at checkout. Nintendo has a
honestly good ad read. 9 out of 10. I think it might have run a tad long, but that's all the talking points. And that also is with the understanding that it got everything it needed to across. I liked it. Solid ad read. Honestly, a lot of ad reads. A lot of people could take note from this. That was a very good ad read.
Documented stance against emulation and ROMs. In 1999, when Ultra HLE, the first public Nintendo 64 emulator released, they called emulation illegal. But after it was tried in court and emulators were found to actually be legal, Nintendo changed their strategy. If they can't take down the emulators, then why not go after the sites that host the ROMs? Now you might be thinking to yourself, MVG, Nintendo just took down Yuzu. That's an emulator, so what are you talking about? Nintendo did shut down Yuzu. However, the DMCA law was never tried in court. Yuzu took an L to keep emulation legal, which I think everyone can agree was the right thing to do.
They paid 2.4 not to have it go to court, modern court, right? And keep it legal. That taking that L for the quote-unquote greater good, so to speak.
But let's get back to ROMs, which is the main topic of this video. I mentioned that Nintendo has every right as the copyright holder to remove what belongs to them. But did you notice that Nintendo is pushing for the removal of the entire sites, threatening the preservation of ROMs that don't even belong to them? But MVG, what about archive.org, I hear you ask? That's never going to go away. Let's stop and discuss archive.org for a moment.
I want to take a second actually to, I would love to have an official Nintendo statement saying, I own physical authentic copies of Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, and Colosseum. What is your stance on that? And obviously they could give one. I mean, I would be very curious if their actual stance was, you know, the George Lucas approach to the Star Wars Christmas special, right? If I had a hammer and enough time, I'd destroy every copy I can, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if that fell within their modern purvey, within their modern views, right? I would be very interested to hear what Nintendo's physical owned legacy products are like, how they're viewed by their current management.
And while I do agree that with the loss of LoveRoms, Vimslare, and other sites, as long as archive.org exists, then everything will be fine. But it's really not the case. First of all, let's talk about why Nintendo hasn't gone after archive.org in the same way as they have with the other sites. Well, it's because archive.org has a DMCA exemption to help with the archival of vintage software.
Okay.
It's vital to make proper archival copies of these artifacts. The problem with this exemption is it's not forever. Every 3 years, the Copyright Office holds a rulemaking proceeding to determine the exemption status. And for example, if 1 year they rule against the DMCA exemption, the site is then exposed to the same takedowns as any other ROM site. It's as simple as that. Nothing lasts forever, except for the ridiculous copyright laws when it comes to video games. And if you didn't know, here in the United States, video game copyright lasts for the entire life of the creator, plus an additional 70 years. And Nintendo themselves have been outspoken opposing the DMCA exemption on archive.org. If and when there is a reversal of the DMCA exemption, Nintendo will be the first company to strike.
See, here's what boggles me, right? And we can technically, someone that likes Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, right? I liked it. It was a lot of fun for Pokemon. I played through both of them on stream. I can't play the game for an extended period of time because the frame rate, the FOV issues, oh my god, a lot of things just make it a subpar product to me, and it makes my head hurt. It makes my eyes hurt, right? To try and play it for an extended period of time. They are actively sacrificing new products, and I didn't even like Tears of the Kingdom. I was actually like the one person in the room that heard, oh well, Tears of the Kingdom got delayed, and it's like, really? And then, you know, more time passes, and then they raise it to $70, and I'm like, really? Like, you realize the other half of causing a wait like that is to actually deliver a banger product. I played Tears of the Kingdom once in a 9-hour VOD, and then I kind of got some bonus stuff like the Fierce Deity set, stuff like that, but it just wasn't a winner to me. Like, it just didn't perform. And so I have modern, you know, things that I'm playing, and even on the Pokemon side of things, I'm playing through Pokemon Emerald recently. Oh my god, it goes hard. On the Zelda side of things, I love Majora's Mask. I'm itching to go through Twilight Princess and Wind Waker again, right? And you could argue, oh, it's because you have bias for these older games. You could argue that, oh, it's nostalgia, right? Like, I just don't feel that modern Nintendo is really taking the best course of actions with their new titles, and I wonder if financial pressures from that and review pressures are feeding into what they're doing. And it seems like they're really just tightening this grip on things like this and getting incredibly litigious when, yes, it is their property, and I understand that part of it. I'm not going to contest that. What I'm going to say is it's a very poor look to put out poor quality new products and then start to destroy your backlog, or to be as aggressive as you are in cases like this. Like he's saying, Nintendo will be one of the first companies to go after this if that expires.
So what can we do about this? ROM sites are illegal, but can we dump our own games? Is it even legal to do that?
That's
I'm not
my question.
a lawyer, but my understanding of dumping is that it's perfectly legal to dump your own games as long as you're not circumventing any protection measures as stated by the DMCA. In general, what this means is that anything up to around the 6th generation of game consoles would be perfectly legal to make backups of.
That would be, what, 7th generation was 360, PS3, right? So anything before that, question mark?
Anything beyond that is a grey area. But for this discussion, let's just assume that all ROMs can be dumped by individuals who own originals, and it's perfectly legal to do that.
Okay.
So, if it's okay to download and use an emulator and dump your own games, then what's the problem? Preservation lives on. After all, I'm making a legal backup of my games. The problem is, have you ever tried to dump a NES, Super NES, Genesis, or old game cartridge? It's not an easy thing to do. you need some type of dumping hardware like this thing here. This is the Retro 2. It can dump SNES and Genesis ROMs, and I even have an adapter for N64 and Game Boy. The problem is, these aren't readily available. They're almost never in stock when you need one. And have you tried dumping NES game cartridges? I've tried a few different dumpers, and all of them are terrible. The best option is to use a dumping tool with the analog NT Mini, which isn't made anymore. And back in the old days, way before FPGA-based dumping tools, disk and cartridge copiers were all the rage. Now, I've used disk copiers on the channel before. These devices were also successfully blocked in US courts as illegal. Now, of course, it was still very possible to import them via Hong Kong electronics stores such as Lexang, but you start to see the frustration. Disk-based games like the Dreamcast, OG Xbox, and GameCube aren't really much better either.
Wow, there's a demand for our games. There's a demand for our product. Maybe we should make them readily available. Maybe, hey, you know, it's been 10 years, 20 years since game X or game Y. Man, maybe we should offer them an eShop alternative. And you know what? In the 3DS era, Nintendo did do that, right? Could you not buy Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, Red, Blue, Yellow, right? And even then, you had like the Spanish version, the French versions, right? Could you not buy those? And now, hitting the Switch, they're suddenly gone. Suddenly vanished. You can link the exact same Nintendo account email that you had with your Wii U and 3DS to your Switch, and none of that carries over. Interesting, right? It's almost like this is a cognizant business decision being made by them.
You can use either a specific drive with a hacked firmware, or you can use a hacked console. It shouldn't be this complicated to make backups of your own games.
No.
And yet it is. Why not just leave everything up to Nintendo? After all, they did successfully launch the Virtual Console on the Wii, Wii U, and recently the NSO service on the Nintendo Switch. Not only this, they have a very long history of providing backward compatibility options for hardware going as far back as the Game Boy Color. Nintendo can't be trusted. The Virtual Console on the Wii was a very good service they provided. When it was all said and done, there was a total of 427 Virtual Console titles available on the service in North America.
For a subscription.
And in 2019, the Wii U online service was shut down.
It was.
So let's move over to the Wii U. Many games had to be ported to the Wii U Virtual Console, and there's a total of 318 titles available in North America. It's a pretty significant reduction. And of course, as we know, just recently, the Wii U store was also closed. But of course, now we come to the Nintendo Switch Online service, which is...
I will note, as far as I'm aware, the Nintendo Wii port of Majora's Mask is, I think, the best for speedrunning. I don't remember why. I heard something about the Nintendo Wii port being one of the better ones.
The service-based Netflix-style model Nintendo has always wanted to provide, and the smart money suggests that Nintendo will transfer over the NSO with your Nintendo account to future Nintendo hardware, including the Switch 2. This, of course, is a good move. As of the making of this video...
See, I don't agree. I don't trust that, though. Because did Halo Infinite, you know, big game company, right? Did we not get promised multiplayer, or not multiplayer, couch co-op? Did we not get promised more campaign? Did we not get promised XYZ ABC? Did we not have a lawsuit over Mass Effect Andromeda where the verdict found BioWare not guilty and that a roadmap is not legally binding? You see why I have problems trusting this? Especially when your current activities are just to send litigation out to ABC XYZ, right? It wouldn't surprise me one day if I got a litigation notice from Nintendo saying you own physical copies of Pokemon Colosseum XD Gale of Darkness. These aren't representative of Pokemon Company. These are outdated products, right? Oh, Kip, that's dystopian. Honestly, that's my current view, right? I have a Switch. I have 2 3DSs. I got a Wii U. I have Nintendo I have multiple games. I got the Char GameCube, the Gundam GameCube. I got that from a local shop. I'm meaning to do a video on that shop, actually. It's just been really tiring last couple of weeks. But, like, I don't trust Nintendo as far as I can throw them.
There's only a paltry 275 titles available on the NSO service.
They're slow.
And we only get a very small drip feed of new games every single month.
Right.
I remember back in the days of the Wii Virtual Console, we were getting games every single week. The Nintendo Switch has sold over 155 million units, but Nintendo is all but doing the absolute minimum to offer retro games to their customers. The number of old
It's not
classic
their
games
focus.
Nintendo is providing on their hardware services is shrinking with every single generation. And you've
So here's the thing. If it doesn't want to be your focus, that's fine. But your mainline games better deliver. I will stand by. I don't think Tears of the Kingdom was, one, worth the wait. Two, I don't think that it was worth $70. You can argue only got like 20 hours in, effectively, just getting some of the stuff. Haven't gone through the story. I'll go through the story on stream at some point. But I don't feel it was worth it. I feel like Scarlet and Violet are inferior products to Fire Red, Leaf Green, Emerald, Coliseum XD Gale of Darkness. You have to come out with bangers, right? Where's the next Twilight Princess? Where's what people have been clamoring for? Twilight Princess and Wind Waker on the Switch, right? Where's that? I'm sure you got the files. You clearly showcase with precedent that you as Nintendo are willing to use emulators in your own official products, right? I'm not crazy, right?
probably noticed that every single month people are asking for games like Chrono Trigger or Secret of Evermore on the service. How many years will people need to wait before they show up, if ever? There's no guarantee that anything will ever appear on the NSO. As someone who does work on commercial emulation projects, I can tell you categorically that many publishers see value in partnering with companies like Limited Run or Digital Eclipse to help bring back their back catalog. The reality is, Nintendo Switch Online is just another revenue stream for Nintendo's bottom line. The emulation quality, while decent enough, doesn't hold a candle to community-developed efforts that run on their own hardware. The emulators that the homebrew community built on the Wii,
that looks
Wii
amazing.
U, 3DS, and the Nintendo Switch are far superior to anything that Nintendo has ever provided. The community who downloads ROMs shouldn't all be labeled as filthy pirates who deserve what's coming to them. It's the resellers who attempt to profit from them that really should be targeted. If Nintendo really cared about ROMs, they'd be taking down every single seller on Amazon who's selling knockoff handhelds with 10,000 games on them.
So that's the part that actually confuses me, right? Is that if I wanted to say buy Pokemon Fire Red Authentic, right, it's going to be like $100+. Or if I buy a reproduction cart, it's like $15. Obviously, you run into issues where it's not an official cart, probably not going to work with official hardware, such as transfer cables, prone to issues, right? Like, you get the point. It's a knockoff, right? It's a bootleg. Why has Nintendo not gone after those? Is there legal precedent where, say, if I were to tomorrow start bootlegging Fire Red copies or DS copies, they can't legally go after me, but they instead choose to wage this war on ROMs? And yes, the distribution of ROMs is what's illegal from my understanding. Dumping your games is in that weird gray territory like we discussed. Like, you see, even then, across the board, if they're wanting to protect their product, it almost feels like Nintendo's being inconsistent because they're just kind of turning a blind eye to, I don't know, like Temu, Amazon sellers that are selling bootleg carts, eBay sellers that are selling non-authentic carts even in the description or the title, right? So what is it? It's one or the other, Nintendo. Are you going to be cracking down on everything, or are you going to just crack down on certain things and you're going to cherry pick, and thus you're going to confuse your audience, and your audience is like, why am I going to buy a Switch 2? I need to see the reviews first, or why am I going to buy this new Nintendo title, right? As far as I'm aware, more people are going to buy Call of Duty every year than Mario, but then again, I would love metrics to showcase, the opposite, right? If more people buy Mario than Call of Duty, I'd be very interested in the logistics behind that. Like, I feel this is doing a lot of damage to their brand image, as well as just other things they've done too, right? Crisis Core, Kingdom Hearts on the Switch. You buy the ability to stream the games. You don't own the games. You play it from a server. So what happens when that server goes down, right? Steam. What if my Steam isn't connected to the internet, right? Oh, I can probably still play Kingdom Hearts. But if I'm not connected to the internet on my Switch, I can't play Kingdom Hearts. If they say, well, yeah, we're kind of done now, we're shutting down this service, right? Well, you can't play the Kingdom Hearts you bought on the Switch anymore, right? So I mean, it's just business decisions by Nintendo, and it's a lot of businesses. They're doing a lot of harm to their brand image.
I can literally buy one right now and get it delivered tomorrow. And if it wasn't for ROMs, fan translations would not exist. And this is something that people pour their hearts and souls into to provide localization efforts to games that were never released in that particular country. But it doesn't even stop there. Things like full color translations, widescreen mods, ROM hacking built out of completely new games, updating and adding quality of life features,
that 60
even
FPS looks hot.
building remakes of games. Anytime a remaster is announced, people ask what quality of life features will there be? Well,
I would love to play this at 60 FPS actually. Majora's Mask 60 FPS. Oh my god.
well, if ROMs didn't exist, that would be a big fat zero. And I'll fill you in on a secret. Commercial retro game collections I've been involved with, we frequently work with ROM hacking experts in the community. Everyone does who works on retro collections. Experts in reverse engineering, ROM hacking, and localization efforts are essential to bringing back old games to modern times. The FPGA community just saw the release of the N64 Mysticore, an incredible piece of work that will surely benefit N64 hardware preservation, but it still requires ROMs to play. It's easy to say that the internet is vast and ROMs will never be eradicated, but the reality is, every high-profile ROM site that's shut down, it's a blow to preservation. We can't trust Nintendo or the ESA to be in charge of preservation efforts. They've failed in doing so time and time again. Their motives aren't to preserve, rather to control. They make it clear that they will go after any ROM site that gets in their crosshairs. And unfortunately for Vim's Lair, this was because of moronic TikTokers who were playing Pokemon on their iPhones via the Delta emulator, thinking that it was cool, which clearly got the attention of the ESA. If Nintendo was serious about their history, they'd provide their entire library of ROMs on a service. This could be either a rental or a purchase and run on any legal emulator on your PC. I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. If Nintendo set up their own Vim's Lair, which had checks and balances, people would buy those ROMs because they know that it's something that is not illegal. Sites like Vim's Lair, modders, fan translations, and ROM hacks should not be punished. These talented people are...
If anyone has any information on this Majora's Mask thing, I'm very curious what this is, and if you can like bind the masks and the ocarina to the D-pad like you can in the what do you call it, in the randomizer, right? I think it's a good quality of life. Honestly, playing Majora's Mask like this would be wild. Kind of like Legend of Cage. That's a wild Majora's Mask mod if you haven't seen that. Curious about information on it if you happen to have that.
What the industry needs right now. Many ROM
not
hackers
links to anything,
and
just
modders
information.
got their start in the industry from their hobbyist work, and it would be a shame to see all that disappear.
Yes.
But these are just one man's thoughts and opinions, and I do know that this topic is polarizing for many of you. So if you did make it to the end of this episode, I do thank you for listening. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I understand that a lot of people don't like emulation and ROMs, and a lot of people obviously do, but I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. But we are going to leave it here for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Honestly, loved it. Just gonna leave that thumbs up now. I loved it. That was a good video. I think it is polarizing for a lot of people. At the end of the day, if you own your game, I don't care. I'm obviously no legal substitute, legal expert, anything like that. And I feel that this video was very good. It was very thought out. It was very reasonable, rational, right? I thought it was a very good video personally. And, you know, I definitely recommend that you check out this creator if you haven't. Link will be in the description down below. And as always, if there's someone new I react to, I always open up to the creator. If you're not okay with React content, if you think I wasn't transformative enough, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to take it down. I'm more than happy to let people know you're not okay with React content. Honestly, though, excellent job. Wishing you the best. And this was a really good discussion to have. You know, I feel like I'm crusading against Nintendo, but at the end of the day, I'm literally looking at my Majora's Mask gold holographic sticker copy right here, right? That I go out of my way to purchase. Or my Gundam GameCube that was from Japan that a local shop ended up working on and now it works in English, right? Like, I want Nintendo to be good. Understanding that when I talk about something, like talking about Halo Infinite in similar ways to this, right? It's because I care and I want it to be good. And the fact is that it doesn't seem like they're wanting to be good. And really, what's the incentive? They already have the share of the market that they need. Why should they care? But, you know, at the end of the day, we're seeing a decrease in games. But not only that, we're seeing a just absolute erasure of old retro games, stuff like that. You know, you're going to have a kid walk up to you one day and they're going to be like, what's Star Fox? Or what's F-Zero? right? Nintendo's forgotten IP. What was the F-Zero, whatever was for the GameCube? Was it F-Zero GX, something like that? Was like the last F-Zero game, unless there was another one that came out in like the 10 years that it's been since I last had this discussion with my buddy, and he was playing F-Zero on his Wii U, right? Like, what happens if they want to play F-Zero? What happens if they want to play legacy games, right? They're not providing the means. They're not providing the hardware. They're not providing replacements to the hardware, right? So what does that lead people to do? At the end of the day, I see this as a failure to business, and if Nintendo is in fact described as the dinosaur, doesn't surprise me. Doesn't mean that I hate the company. It means that I expect better from them and I want them to do better. But I mean, that's a talk for another time. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. If you do know what that Majora's Mask thing was, that 60 FPS wide angle view thing, let me know if you know what that is. I'm very curious that, as Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda game, and I like to know things. I want to know. It looks cool. It would look like it'd be very cool to play. And yeah, see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.